Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and yeah, still a tiny bit croaky for the Stockholm Regional Championships. I was casting this weekend. It was fun. But we need to take a look at what is going on with Evolving Skies. Because look, I keep coming back to you and saying, well, we probably don't need to look at Evolving Skies again for a while. These prices are going to be probably relatively stable. They're probably going to sit here for a little while. It's going to be fine. But no, ladies and gentlemen, over the past, honestly, month, really it's been a month, we have seen big price spikes. And I mean big price spikes across all the big cards. And we might as well start off with Umbreon, because oh my word, Umbreon's getting absurd. Absolutely absurd. Now, you'll notice this one, we go back 3 months, for instance. We start off at about $550, and it kind of ticks along, and end of April, beginning of May, we see a big jump, and all of a sudden it's a $930 card. The market price says $945, but the last three solds are $930, $930, and $925, so I feel confident calling it a $930 card. Which makes very little sense to me. This has been ticking along at a $500 to $700 card for a while now. That's where we've been. It's not been cheap. It's been one of the biggest, most impressive, most valuable cards in the entire Scarlet and Violet era, but it's been $500 to $700. That has been the price of Umbreon. Now all of a sudden we're jumping up to a nearly $1,000 card, and the thing is, it's one of the situations where I'd go, well, probably market manipulation. Maybe. But this is one where I really want to dig in. Let's look at a big pile of solds over on TCG Player. Actual cards actually sold. 925, 930, 930, 900, 860, 850, 1,000, 975, 500, 1,000. Hang on a second, Wassy. How come one of them sold for $500 when it was near mint? The answer is, I don't entirely know. It's an anomaly. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Wish I could give you a better explanation. But there are enough here. This isn't one or two random sales that are manipulating the data. This isn't somebody went and bought 4 or 5 of them because they were the only 4 or 5 in stock and then listed all the new ones for massively more than that. No. There is a real history of multiple sales, all of which are at that vague price. And it doesn't really make a huge amount of sense to me, other than to say Evolving Skies has basically started to go away. Evolving Skies has started to properly sell out in a bunch of places. People have started realizing that Evolving Skies is this amazing set that probably isn't coming back. And it is going to go down. In the past, really since the Sword and Shield block, so over the 12 Sword and Shield main sets and, well, nearly 6 now, Scarlet and Violet sets, that's 18 sets. This is the only set which is really a big key set for collectors. And that has basically made people turn around and go, maybe it's time. Because we can look at this and go, Wassy, come on, mate. It's Umbreon. It's fine. Umbreon is different. Umbreon is special. It's a Moonbreon card. Obviously, it was always going to be a little bit different and a little bit special. You're not being terribly fair. All right, then. Let's keep going. How about Rayquaza? We see a similar kind of thing. This was rocking along for a long time at about a $250 card. And it was fairly a $250 card, which is extremely expensive for an English card in the modern era, but it's Rayquaza and it's a special illustration rare. Well, it's not actually a special illustration rare, it's an alternate art, but same kind of deal, right? It's special. But then something happens. Really, this one was end of March, beginning of April. We start to see it increasing. And then end of April, beginning of May, we see a second fairly significant jump. And all of a sudden, it's a $450 card. The last 3 sales, we're talking $450, $485, and $495. So honestly, calling it a $450 card is maybe being a little bit disingenuous. It's probably actually a little bit more than that. But we can call it 450 as a little bit of a, well, hedging our bets, so to speak. And it just keeps going and going as we look at more cards. You know, we know that Sylveon is a very popular Pokemon. We know that it had an amazing special art, alternate art, call it what you will. Well, yeah, that one's kind of jumping up too. And this graph is actually pretty stark, honestly. Toddles along, $130, $135 card, somewhere in that region. And again, it's end of March, starts really going up, and then end of April we see another bump, and all of a sudden it's a $190 card? Honestly, more than that, because 170 on the recently sold you can see there is a moderately played. The last two near mints are 200 and 235. All of a sudden, we have seen a significant jump in Sylveon V Max, and this was always kind of a comfortably $130-ish card. And now, all of a sudden, if you're finding it for $200, that's probably a good thing. That is not what we were expecting. That is not what we were looking for from these cards. And if we keep going through the Eeveelutions, it keeps being represented. Leafeon VMAX, the Hyganasuke, the one that I like, again, end of March we see a little bit of a jump, and then end of April there is a big jump. And all of a sudden it's gone from a $160 card to a $300 card. Although this one, the last three sales are really all over the place. Now, the $100 one is damaged, and honestly, the fact that it's a $100 card damaged is kind of wild, but there is a $200 at the same time as there is a $400. So this one is a little bit all over the place in terms of the last three sales, but we can just do what we always do. We can pull up that list of, you know, more than the last couple of sales and see where that's going, and that is where we really do see far more of a trend. Yes, there's a 200, there's 100 damage, there's 115 damage, there's another 200, but there's a 400, a 400, a 350, a 335, a 400, a 400, a 300 as a lightly played. And that's kind of my point here. This is another card which, although not quite as stark as, for instance, the Umbreon, there are a couple of cheaper sales woven in there. Let's not pretend this is anything more, or anything less maybe, than a card that has just absolutely climbed in value over the past couple of months. And with all of these, we've really got end of March and end of April, and they're not exactly the same for all of these cards, but there are basically two jumps happening at the end of months which are putting all of these cards up. Glaceon, similar kind of thing. The big jump here is end of April, but it does start going up end of March. And again, we see a similar thing. It used to be 145 pretty nicely. Now it's honestly nearer to 245. There are still some cheaper $200-ish versions around, but generally speaking, this Glaceon has gone up by about $100. This is not, for all of these cards, this is not some kind of standard rise in price that we generally tend to see. No. These are big jumps in price happening almost overnight. It really is the past kind of 5-6 weeks where we have seen significant jumps in all of these cards. And I'm not going to keep going through all of them in this much detail, but if we see a couple more examples here, the Umbreon V as opposed to the V Max, sitting nicely at a $90 card, all of a sudden it's, well, again, there's a few all over the place here, but it's around about a $200 card. You'll see some sales nearer the 150 mark, which is lovely, but as people start realizing what's going on, those are going to start disappearing, and this one has again jumped by about $100 in the space of a couple of weeks. If you'd bought these Evolving Skies cards 2 months ago, you would have been thinking that they were not particularly cheap, And now in hindsight, you're looking back going, mate, 2 months ago, these were awesome. We can look at the Dragonite V, and this is another one that has gone absolutely silly, rocking along with a $95 card, bit of a jump at the end of March, beginning of April, another big jump at the end of April, beginning of May, and we somehow end up at like a $180 card. And this is happening all across the set. Basically, any card from Evolving Skies, which is seen as good, which is seen as worth it, which is seen as collectible, phrase it how you will, they are all jumping up in price. It's like one of them started going, and everybody else is trying to find the next one, the next card that is going to start jumping in price, because you know what? Evolving Skies is frankly a little bit of a big deal. And look, it's not every single card. It's not all of them. There are plenty of bargains to be got at the lower end. A card I am particularly fond of from Evolving Skies is the alternate art of Golurk done by Oswaldo Cato. Love this card. Wonderful card. It's still like a $15 card. And although we do see a very big jump at the beginning of May, it's going from a $13 to a $15 card. When you see the graphs go up, it's not just about the line going up. You also need to take a look at that, their y-axis, look at the scale. It has gone up, but it's only gone up by like $2. There are still some bargains to be had. It's not every single card in the entire set, but it is basically every single card which could be pretty collectible. It's all of these cards, all the Eeveelutions, etc., that people are hoping, predicting, phrase it how you will, are going to go up in the future. All of these, and look, they've never been cheap. They've been expensive for a while. But the relevant thing going on here, in the past 5 weeks, there have been ridiculous jumps. And I don't always bring you, minute-to-minute updates on older sets like Evolving Skies, because it's not necessarily worth it. We don't necessarily need to. This time, we need to. This is a very big deal. Right, I've told you what's going on. Now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of this. Tell me if you've picked up the cards you want from Evolving Skies. Tell me if you're worried that you're going to be priced out of some of these cards. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.